Express Review, you're welcome to the show. This morning, a lot of stories making rounds, and we'll begin, by letting you know that we have a guest already in the studio to help us look at the papers. The public affairs analyst, Elder Eloka Okafor. Welcome to the studio, Elder.
Good morning.
All right, let's begin with looking at what making rounds on ABS website this morning. A lot of stories, I tell you. Senator Oba asked federal government to protect indigenous airlines from unfair competition. Bishop Ezokafo urges Christians to uphold humility, rule of law. Atma embarks on personnel audit to fish out ghost workers. I wonder if we still have ghost workers around. Operation Dobe Anambra Ocha, receptacles safety wares distributed to Ekoka market traders. 90 cultists arrested by police in Anambra. Let's start with the first story there. I think that may be the first bill is sponsoring, Senator Oba at the Senate.
I think they mentioned, is it Andy Oba or Ifeanyi Oba?
They just said Senator Oba.
Okay, Oba, okay. I should guess it should be Ifeanyi Oba. Okay, I think if he will be sponsoring a bill to that effect, that would be very, very nice and impressive. The Nigerian state should actually protect indigenous airlines. If you will be following the newspaper readings recently, I found APs. Sorry, not APs. APs Airline. They did their medium flight from Nigeria to Dubai, that has been granted to them for some, that license to fly that route has been granted to them some years back, but because of what they call the aeropolitics associated with country flights, it had to be delayed up to now. They still have some other routes that have been granted them to fly, but up to now they still have challenges getting the countries involved to actually approve, their airlines. Like South Africa, I read they have done their audit on airpiece to certify their worthiness to fly their country, but you still have this aeropolitics going on. And the government... From
within or without?
No, internationally. Internationally. Some countries don't want you to come and compete with their local airlines. That is what you have. And it's called aeropolitics. And Nigeria is not actually alive to this aeropolitics going on from what I have read and observed. For instance, this man, the owner of Airpeace, has complained over time that some airlines, international airlines, are allowed to fly local routes in Nigeria. Some of them fly to airports within the country, and that is wrong. You have an airline like maybe Ethiopian Air or Etihad flying Abuja, or maybe conveying passengers from wherever outside the country into Abuja International Airport, and say fly them from Abuja to either Enugu Airport or Kanu Airport. That is wrong. That is wrong. There should be interlining of airlines. For instance, Ethiopian Air is allowed to fly into Abuja International Airport. Another local airline should take up from there and fly those passengers.
Just like it's done in other parts of the
world. And that is the aeropolitics we are talking about. Okay. And when you allow some of these international airlines, a lot of them have access to all forms of credit. To say fly your local routes, you are not encouraged. In fact, you are destroying your local airline.
All right.
And that is part of the reason that airline business in Nigeria seems to be very, very complex and difficult. At the moment, Nigeria doesn't have the functional aircraft maintenance infrastructure. A lot of them will have to fly their airplanes abroad for maintenance. Even for commonest, what they call the C3 maintenance. Understand? And it takes millions of dollars and forests outside the country.
All right, I think that's a very big topic for another day.
Yes, it's actually a big topic on its own. And that's why I'm very happy that Dr. Ifeanyi Oba is actually looking in that direction. I'm very, very happy about that. And if you look at what these APs have, the kind of level of employment they have provided within these few years they have been within the country, you'll be amazed. They are solving a lot of unemployment problems. So they should be encouraged.
All right. Let's run. Now, let's look at my embarking on personnel audits to fish out ghost workers. Just like I said earlier, I don't know if we still have ghost workers around. They must have felt something that led them into this. What do you
Honestly,
think?
The much I know about Atma is seeing them here and there. But if they have ghost workers, they should find a way to deal with these things. I expect a state like Anambra by now should professionalize some of these agencies. Use biometrics card and detect some of these things. If anybody on your employee should have that biometric card. And with this, you eliminate these ghost workers once and for all. Because if a ghost cannot get your card, I remember when I was with Chinese, what they do is that even your ID card is like a biometric card. Once you enter the office, in fact, for you to even gain entrance into the office, you just have to flash that ID on a microchip like that.
That opens the door.
Yes, the door opens. And it records the time of your arrival. Likewise, when you are leaving.
You don't even need to sign that.
No. They don't have time for signing anything. It just flash your this thing on that. Yes, it opens the door for you. Anytime you leave that premises, the same thing, you flash, and you can't use somebody else's ID card to do that.
I pray that the government will soon adopt it in all the offices.
It's a very simple thing. You solve this thing once and for all. You don't even need all this sign in, sign out. People will come by 10 o'clock and sign that they came by 7.
All right, let's look at Operation Dubai, Anambra, OCHA, receptacles, safety wares distributed.
Yes, that double OCHA stuff. I think I want to point out something. On Saturday, around Aroma area, I discovered they scattered the refuse on the road. Maybe the vehicle receptacle was overloaded. So I didn't meet them there. But as I was passing through that road, I found the whole place was smelly. And you see some of this garbage littered here and there, and vehicles were marching on them and all that. I believe that people who were giving these contracts are professionals. Even if they are not, they should professionalize. They should get some of their staff that get in contact with some of these refuse equipped and even trained. Strengthen their capacity. Let them know that if you are evacuating these things, make sure that they don't litter on the streets. It doesn't give in fact, that Saturday it was around that you have bad breath everywhere. So while we are trying to remove some of these garbage here and there, that aspect of it, conveying them from one point to another, is also important, the way we do that.
And,
very, very
and
important.
Other citizens also, should help by knowing how we dispose our refuse.
Yes, I will suggest
the commissioner was here. The new commissioner for environment was here the other time and said that from August 1, they'll be clamping down on some people that will take their refuse and throw it just like that. Then they equally talked about this thing you're saying, that the vehicles that convert the dirt, they should make sure. They said from August 1 they are going to look into it.
I'm not just satisfied the commissioner coming here to talk about them. He should move there to the field and find out what is going on and what these guys are doing. It's not just enough stay in the comfort of the AC in your office and dish out some of these instructions. I can't remember seeing that commissioner anywhere on the street inspecting. Personally, I have not seen. Okay. Maybe he has done that, but I have not seen. Inspecting how some of these things are done. And when you travel along some of our roads, sometimes you run into where they just go and dispose this refuse. Just anywhere. You begin to wonder what is happening.
All right, so the program is Press Review, reaching you from ABS Television here. We have numbers on the screen that you can call and ask questions or make any contribution. if you wish to. Now let's move to the papers.
Sorry. There's one important line there about cults.
Okay. The
police.
cult is. I'm running for want of time. Okay.
But it's very important.
Cult is arrested by police in Anambra.
Yes. I've been following. There's a platform they call Police Diary in Anambra. I've been following it for some time now, and the level of cultism we have in this state is so worrisome.
It's not just in this state.
In Anambra in particular, I'm concerned about Anambra State. And I'm wondering, is there nothing else that could be done about this? It's not just enough arresting these guys. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know about any law that punishes cultism in Nigeria. Apart from criminality, maybe if some of them gets involved in criminality, maybe murder, arson, or those stuff. Male cultism, I don't know about them. Just like people who abuse drugs, who take weed and all that. I don't know about any law that punishes somebody that takes the weed. But I know of one that the person that sells it is more culpable. So the State House of Assembly may come up with some of law, something that should be a deterrent. It's a problem. Go to our villages, our streets. Small boys and girls in secondary schools. In fact, last week I read about one guy from one school in Ebunike going to another school in Ogidi or so to disrupt a graduation ceremony or something.
Secondary school?
Yeah, secondary school. And he was arrested.
We also have parents, we have caregivers, we have guardians around.
Obviously, we know that the family system is failing. But we can't do it because we are all at risk.
That's what I'm
We are all at risk. The day they did Egwi Monka Festival in Monka here, I learned that 6 persons were gunned down by cultists. Probably those guys are also cultists themselves. So what I'm actually proposing is that there is need for the government, particularly at the state level, to actually look at this thing and see that it is now a problem. It's an issue.
A very big problem.
We don't just allow the police, sometimes when the police makes this arrest, we don't even get to know the outcome.
And do you think it should be left for government alone? That's why I said earlier that we
still have
parents, we have caregivers.
The government and the churches. The government and the churches. It should not be out of place if the government can actually call for, renunciation ceremony along with churches in Anambra State. Let those cultists who are interested in renouncing cultism maybe assemble to so place or somewhere. It becomes a state ceremony. Government does that. And after that, government can now come up with a policy that if after this renunciation, anybody caught in cultism, so thing can happen to him.
All right, let's run for want of time.
Moving forward,
the Daily Times newspaper. Let's see the stories making the headlines on the Daily Times. The big story there says NIS rescues 453 victims of human trafficking. Arrests 78 traffickers, generates 39.06 billion in 2018, reunites 423 victims of trafficking in person with their families. Up there we have Nigeria to spend 120 billion naira on importation of foreign technologies by 2020, as 80% of ICT software hardware imported annually. Down there we have community policing will combat crime scourge. That's coming from the Vice President, Oshimbajo. Election petition tribunals, Bolkachua cancels annual vacation for justices. A CBN lending policy will normalize credit market economic growth. Then UNFPA restates commitment to end gender-based violence, harmful practices. All right, let's look at this story. Election petition tribunals, Bolkachua cancelling, annual vacation. He made the opinion known yesterday, and he said that there's a clause there. Only judges that have a medical appointment to be allowed to travel. How do you see that?
Yes, I think it's a very good development. Bolkachua and her justices have a lot of issues at hand. If you remember, that is the court of first instance for the presidential election petition. So they have a lot of work at hand that is time bad and very critical to democratic practice in Nigeria. So I welcome that development. Let them stay and look at these things and handle them professionally.
All right, now Nigerian Immigration Service rescues 453 victims of human trafficking. I think this is a good one. They reunite 423 victims of trafficking in persons.
It's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate that Nigerians continue to be trafficked. Very, very unfortunate. We have a population, a huge population of young people that we don't even know what to do with them. So as long as we don't know what to do with them, as long as we don't know how to plan for them, as long as we don't know how to engage them, they are still going to be trafficked.
All right, let's move over to the Nation newspapers now to see.
Sorry, let me talk about the Vice President talking about the community policing there.
Okay.
I think that issue has been overflogged, especially by the Vice President himself. It has been overflogged. If they are going ahead with community policing.
So what are they waiting for?
I wonder. They should just go ahead with community policing. At this stage, we are all seeing that we need it. Not just we need it. It's very, very important, pertinent now. So they should just go ahead and do whatever they want to do.
All right. Let's see the Nation newspaper. The story is making the headlines on the Nation. Let me begin with this picture in front of the Nation newspaper, where Professor Oshimbajo, greeting the chief of infantry yesterday. The man that the daughter's life was cut short by men of the underworld on Friday last week. A lot of the governors, even Tinubu was there in the front page, paying their condolence to a great man whose daughter was gunned down Okay, let's see another story there. Troops for roads to stop killings, says Oshimbajo, with the rider there showing herdsmen erode government gains. Tinubu seeks end to security woes. And this story have been in the paper. Sorry, making the news over the weekend.
Yes, it has been so sad. That Fashoranti man, it's a pity. It's a pity but that is just one of the victims.
Yes, I'm coming to that. This is not the first time we experience killings on our roads, and just like the saying that it can happen to anybody. Now, it has happened to somebody that is well known in the country, and you see the caliber of people going to visit the family. It's really a big pity, but this is going to teach us a lesson. If not, I don't know where we're going.
A lot of things that always have potentials to teach Nigerians a lot of lessons, but do we learn? I call this the elitist conspiracy, because this man is well known in the Yoruba, in the southwest part of Nigeria, and the whole country is running agog. But a lot of people have fallen victims of this, whether herdsmen or bandit or whatever, on the road, and nobody talks about them. Nobody cares about them. So, this is where we are. Insecurity for one is insecurity for all. And unfortunately, the president himself was a military man. I'm surprised. As a military man, he doesn't have the solution, the panacea for the insecurity, especially this recent development of people coming on the road to attack travelers and all that. I watched a video recently on the WhatsApp page, a live video. I suspect that road should be Abuja Kaduna Express. The people there were saying that some herdsmen emerged from the bush and started shooting at their vehicle. Unfortunately for those herdsmen, there was an oncoming police patrol vehicle that were also armed, and they had to return fire and they ran away. So I just saw the video. Now, what could have happened if these police people didn't come? What happens to area surveillance? We have a lot of aircraft within the country.
And some other stories there. 10 feared dead as police bandits fight. 10 feared dead. Then army redeploys Yusuf Adeosun, build others. And appeal court Appeal Court cancels a 2019 vacation. We've seen that story before. And we also, Oyo Police Chief regrets shooting. Customs Parade 24 rides smugglers. All right, let's look at that 10 feared dead as police bandits fight.
It's still the same discussion we are having. I want to suggest, if they are listening, we can try area surveillance of some of these nearby bushes. Understand? Then improve the communication between the ground troops or the ground personnel and those parading the air. And that is the only way. Because these people, they strike staccato. They appear here and strike. When he appears, this place has been manned enough by security. They relocate and go to another location. And it continues and continues. I expect by now, Nigerian security should have understudied how these guys operate and come up with a near best approach in tackling them, being a step ahead of them. We have drones. They can use drone to do the surveillance. If you undercover unusual movement within the nearby, then you communicate and something should be done. I don't know how many number of Nigerians will become victims before something drastic happens.
All right, it's still a press review this morning. Let's move to the Punch newspapers to see stories making the headlines on the Punch. The first story there, Fasoranti's daughter, IGP Special Forces comb Ondo Forest. Afenifere Ohaneze attack Buhari. Police not investigating Olakunri's death. Bakare Whips says Nigeria's cup full. Up there we have governments, oil firms, manufacturers borrow 8.24 trillion naira from banks. Buhari has failed, couldn't solve our problems. That's coming from Wole Soyinka. Many corrupt Nigerian leaders started with exam fraud. That's coming from JAM. Sanwo-Olu nominates ex-SSG editor among 25 commissioners, 8. Presidential panel seals off senators' property in Delta State. After God, it is Otedola. That's coming from Chuku. Now let's look at that big story there. IGP Fasoranti's daughter, IGP Special Forces comb Ondo Forest. Afenifere Ohaneze attack Buhari. Police not investigating that Olakunri's
that is just the point I made earlier. The same approach to doing things. Now, IG is sending special forces to comb the forest.
Because it has happened.
After combing that forest, then what happens at the end of the day? That one fizzles out until another prominent, in quote, Nigerian becomes a victim again. You see, sometimes I wonder, some of these police personnel undergo so many training. Nigeria spends a lot of money sending them abroad, training them. And these people mount positions, they are unable to solve a simple problem for us. That is my problem. Now, after this comb, because this is not the first time we are having this kind of combing taking place after an incident. At the end of the day, you don't get to hear until another one happens again. And the cycle continues and continues.
And even on the write down, that story says police not investigating Olakunri's death.
I don't even know who is Olakunri.
That's the daughter. That's
the daughter?
Yeah.
That is a thing. But police say that they will investigate. Because Joe Odumaki, the scribe of the Afenifere, insinuated that the perpetrators were Fulani herdsmen. And police said that they shouldn't say that at the moment, that they are investigating. Now we're hearing again that they are not investigating. I don't know what.
All right, let's say let's take this last story from that paper on sports. Algeria down, Super Eagles 2-1 in AFCON semi-finals, meet Senegal in final.
Is it Algeria or Nigeria?
Algeria down, Super Eagles 2-1 in AFCON semi-finals, meet Senegal in final.
I only wish them luck. I'm not a sports fan, so I don't know.
All right. Let's move to the next paper now. The Guardian newspapers. Let's see what stories are really making the headlines. You know, we are still seeing the picture of This man is quite a pity, an aged man, watching the people that will bury him being buried. It's a very sad one. Now, the big story in front of that paper says, Yoruba split over killing of Fasuranti's daughter. With riders there, Southwest won't take more herdsmen's attack. Oni warns. Perpetrators may not be cattlemen, says Tinubu. Can PDP youth knock Buhari on insecurity? Ohaneze warns of looming national crisis. Ushimbajo hopeful. Up there we have appeal court orders release of Dasuki from detention. With rider imposes 5 million naira fine on DSS for rights violation. We also have Buhari's inability to solve herdsmen problems has eroded his achievements. That's coming from Shoyinka. How artificial intelligence, robotics will affect jobs of accountants and others. Choked with insecurity, citizens still waver on state police. All right, let's see this division coming from the Yorubas. One side saying this, another side saying the other.
Yes, I expect that from the Southwest. In fact, one of my comrades from Abuja wrote that he was watching to see what the Southwest will do. And I replied him that I don't expect them to do anything, because this government is a government they see as their own. Because, of course, they are benefiting. They are having a vice presidential position and even the speaker's position. So I don't expect much wholesome approach or response from the Southwest axis, because they believe that the government belongs to them, even though they were hit hard. You can hear what Tinubu was saying. I read his write-up or his statement yesterday, where he was even comparing Evans with what happened. He was trying to allude that the people that did that may not have been Fulani herdsmen, that Fulani didn't start kidnapping in Nigeria. And he mentioned Evans, that was he a Fulani herdsman and all that. Now, when you begin to hear this kind of statement from people who are supposedly statesmen, it actually betrays, their mindset.
All right, for want of time,
the hope of the common man. So let them play their politics.
For want of time, let's now round off with this statement by Wole Soyinka that Buhari's inability to solve herdsmen problems has eroded his achievements.
My question to that, what I will add to that is, what problem has he actually solved in the last 4 years? Whatever he claims to have achieved is all subject to debate. So apart from the herdsmen issue, which from look of things appears the government abates the excesses of the herdsmen, what other problem has he been able to solve? The Boko Haram is still there. Then added to the herdsmen, it was only perhaps the IPOB uprising that was quashed, with the manner with which that was done. Apart from that, what other insecurity issues in country are solved?
All right, I think that's the much we can take on today's episode of Press Review. Would like to thank you so much, Elder Eloka Okafor, for coming on the show. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
And we'll still have more coming on Good Morning, Anambra. Do stay.